Back to our secondary table here as Kristen Foxen is in a very interesting hand here. A book all in for 27,000. Foxen with a big decision to make. Let's recap the action here. Foxen made it 2,000 before the flop after a book limped in. A book then called, actually went check on the flop. Then a book bet 1,800 by the looks of it on the turn. Foxen called and then shoved his entire stack on the river. What do we make of this?
Well, I mean, we've seen him make quite a few aggressive plays so far, namely the ace-5.
We made it, guys.
And yeah, it's a tough spot. You would imagine that she thinks she's bluff catching, but in this particular case, Abuk has a hand that
Nice try, David.
I would imagine he's hoping he gets called. And understandably so. The passive play on the flop from Kristen. He may be thinking she has a weaker ace, a queen, a hand like 2 kings. She's got that king of spades working for her. Sometimes it's unattractive for players to call big bets when they feel like their opponent isn't bluffing, even though here we can see that her opponent does have a slightly worse hand that he's trying to get called by.
Now, of course, Foxen announcing she has a big hand.
We haven't got to see any of your shows yet.
Donnie, this is one of my favorite situations in the main event when the player betting thinks he is going for value, making him feel very comfortable and relaxed, even though he does not have the best of it here.
That is always interesting.
Show me if I fold it.
Also, based on what Kristen said, I don't think she realized what happened earlier when he bet really big with the ace-5, was it? You got the better ace to fold? Because if she had that stream information, maybe she calls this off.
I imagine so. It's a very relevant hand for this situation. Not only because they were both ace-high boards, but we saw so much aggression from him there.
Tricky player.
He is a bit of a tricky player.
Foxen also has the king of spades.
This one, 27, 26.
Ooh, she's putting together the bet here. This is for Abuk's tournament life. These chips, of course, very valuable to Foxen. She does not want to call and be wrong here. What a massive overbet.
Sometimes in these moments, you just really got to listen to your heart.
Wow. She called it exactly.
Very nicely done. Let's see if she follows through on it.
She does have a big stack, so calling here and being wrong would not be the end of the world for her.
All right, I call.
And she makes the call, and Abuk's tournament is over.
Wow.
Very nicely done by Kristen there.
Thank you. Thanks. It's like, good game.
Wow.
Jerry Yang, 57 years old, has $8.5 million in tournament winnings. 8.2 of that was in one event. That was the 2007 World Series of Poker main event. 2011, he authored a book called All In. And I suspect we might see Gagliano all in at some point. Just don't imagine a scenario where he's called a 3-bet, hit the ace, and he's going to get away from it. Gagliano makes the call. Yang now drawing dead.
That's 35,000.
And Gagliano has bet enough here to put, I'm sorry, Yang has bet enough here to put Gagliano all in. He is repping a big ace. He is trying to tell the story. And can Gag see through this? This is for his tournament life. If he makes the call, he will be suddenly very healthy on 120,000 plus. But how many times, I mean, this game is so easy when you can see the cards. How many times you make the call here and your opponent just turns over ace-king because that's the hand they were repping. That's the hand they have. Not an easy spot for Gagliano, who called a 3-bet with ace-jack, hit the ace, called a flop bet, and despite that, Yang has continued to fire out. And he is certainly telling the story that he's got better than ace-jack at this point. Three-time bracelet winner, Michael Gagliano, trying to think this one through. And he does make the call, and Yang is going to have to turn his cards over. And you've got to imagine, what is the table going to be thinking
You got
here?
it. How much more? It's less.
He has to turn his hand over. It's a tournament. You can't just muck. Yang really wanted to just throw his cards in the muck.
It's 34.
But you can't do that in a tournament. He has to show.
Nice
And
hand. Thank you.
Even if you win with this hand, Jerry, I wouldn't tell you nice hand.
I wonder if the button had looked early and maybe it was trying to gauge it for later.
well, Michael Klein, who was quite chatty a couple seconds ago, is all, his lips are sealed now as he has 3-bet with aces. It is a tiny 3-bet, by the way.
I was going to say that, and like I haven't looked at his bio sheet, but I thought he might be a pro just based on being young, but then I see the sizing and I would expect him probably not to be. And yeah, Michael Klein, 100K in earnings, 50K at WSOP, but he did choose a size that gets a hand to continue that's in awful shape with reverse implied odds, so hats off to him and see how it happens next.
Well, Marchers has picked up a little bit of equity here. He can catch a jack. It goes check, check.
It's a good board to check on. Way ahead, way behind.
Marchers going to check again.
Martyrs wanted to bluff there, it looked like.
Klein going to put his little sprinkle. That red chip is 5K. Greens are 25K. Yellows are 1K.
Please. Thank you.
Let me see how much I can win or maybe bluff. Would love to see him go for a bluff here. Like, it isn't going to work, but
I'm all in.
whoa, it might work.
Wow, he just went all in.
Holy shit, I'm going to cuss again. This might work.
I love the main event.
This is awesome.
Like day 2. So this is the thing.
Who'd
You're
want to
talking
watch a
about
final table where
don't
you know what
see
everyone's
this.
doing? Exactly.
You never see this at the
This
final
is
table.
incredible.
I love this.
Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing. I mean, I love final tables too.
You
but
sign
this
me
is
up
great.
for day 2 every year. I'll just bust on day 1.
Done. You're in. Well, listen, there's 2 day 2s. You can take the other day 2. You don't have to. You can actually stay in. Like Jesse's still in.
Wow, I can be in and do this?
Yeah.
All right. Sign me up for that instead. That sounds way
Okay,
cooler.
done. We'll get you in.
All right. Let's bet. What do you think's going to happen?
I think he's going to find a call.
Oh, he sure looks like it now, huh?
He doesn't block diamonds or
good
clubs. I'm going to go through my thought process, and you tell me where I'm wrong. He doesn't block diamonds. He doesn't block clubs. Doesn't have, doesn't have a jack in his hand. Doesn't have an 8 in his hand. Things that like.
Did you see what happened there? He said, I have a really good hand. That scared Martyrs. And so his response was to try to change his mind. And he said, I believe you. If he said, I have a really good hand and Martyrs could beat aces or like wanted a call, I bet he wouldn't have said anything. I know people like when I talk about live tells, I try not to too much, but that was a really good example.
Right.
I actually made a live tells product for chip leader coaching and never released it. It's too
Oh,
good.
okay.
Yeah.
Can I see it?
Maybe.
By the way, I don't block diamonds. I don't block clubs. And the guy who just moved all in on me has got a blue mohawk. Now, I don't want to stereotype, but I mean, I'm adding 2% to that.
Yeah, I think he really
Right?
wants to call.
I
That's
think
a real.
I think he finds a call
And
here.
look at his little like icon picture too on the bottom left of the screen. Big eyes, tongue out. If he could see that picture, he would definitely call.
Michael Klein, considering this one, he's 36 years old. He's got 39.8 thousand. If he makes this call, he's in great shape. He's not out of the woods, by the way. Margers can actually win this with a jack. That would be filthy. He makes a call.
Let's go. Nice call, Klein.
Wow.
not put you on something that strong. Wow. How much do you got there?
Jack's coming.
Jack on that one, huh?
The Jack's coming.
I'm not feeling it.
Jack and only
Didn't think
Jack.
you had it.
Oh, kind of represented a hand that
Look at Ivy. Look at Ivy. Like he won't even. He's not even moving this trap in front of his eyes. He's like, whatever. 5 of hearts on the river. You were right. He wasn't. You weren't feeling it. And Margers gets lucky with 10s versus kings, then punts it off to Michael Klein. Klein now up over 100,000 chips.
Well, we say punts it off because it didn't work, right? It's only a punt if it doesn't work. I'm a big advocate of that.
Of course, it's a right.
The weapons of
Do it.
mass destruction.
Come on, do it.
I know,
Jeff's
you're not
hourly.
tired.
Jeff's hourly for the massages.
I know, dude, you have been
Up there.
unstoppable since Jeff hugged you.
Maybe it's the interview. Only the interview gets you cursed.
To be fair, I interviewed him in this scenario. Maybe it's like, hello, hello. Probably something there.
What's Zhang going to do with the king jack off here? He's lost a few pots in a row. Does he want to get frisky? Looks like just a call. Lamb going to be continuing here pure with the 9-7 of spades. Easy call. Let's see a flop.
Very rude.
Lamb
I
hits
only
it
have 4 green chips. They're right there.
hard.
Right there.
There's going to be a lot of danger for others.
9-second chip. I love it.
Queen 5-3 rainbow here. Waxman, of course, hoping that someone caught a queen here. And Zhang just cannot help himself. Leads almost every flop.
I'm out.
Oh, wow. That's a thing. If you're Waxman here, you got to think he's got a lot of queen X. I would be raising this almost always, and unfortunately he has nothing, but... Oh, I'm so pained. What am I going to do?
Well, Zhang's reputation preceding himself. And now, of course, Waxman more than happy to just come along for the ride here.
By far the best maneuver. I would have made the mistake of raising here, but does Zhang want to continue?
Well, I mean, he went 3 streets versus Zio earlier on 2 occasions. Betting 10K now. Waxman, 41K left here on the turn.
Let's see if Waxman gives him the treatment.
I mean, not a very scary board.
No, not at all. Yeah, you're thrilled with this. Waxman checking for the heart. Has the black aces. Probably thinking to himself, if he's got queen X of hearts, he's never going to fold if I put it in here now. Can avoid some scary river cards, but if he's bluffing like this, you get the 100%, you get the check mark next to your name. And Matt's an experienced pro. He's been here many times. Let's see if he can make the exploit call.
I really feel as though Waxman is trying to look as weak as he can. Makes the call. Okay, this is very, very interesting, as Zhang has gone for 3 streets on multiple occasions. Now the board pair 7s.
It's a pretty bad card to bluff. What's Zhang gonna do? Oh, he's giving him all the money.
Wow.
Waxman now gets to collect his bread.
I mean, still, got to look back at the cards here. Closing.
I told myself I was snapping, but now I got to think about it.
Perhaps a pivot in the game plan here could be disastrous. Zhang.
That'd be really gross if you get a 7 here.
It is possible for him to have the 6-7, bet the flop, the turn, and then the river.
Zhang, the most comfortable bluffer that I've seen in a very long time. Unfazed by all of it. Hear the voice of Dennis Jones in the background announcing the end of the day here. We only have a few hands left. Matt Waxman deciding for his tournament life here.
I think Matt's gonna, yeah, there
Makes
we go.
the call. Aces
Well
are
played.
good here. Matt
Very well
Waxman
played.
with the double up. As soon as Ivy gets moved off the feature table, he starts winning hands again.
Yeah, I mean, he's cooking, man. What do you want me to say?
Back to our secondary table here. Tay and Nori going head-to-head. Tay flopping a set of 8s. Natalie Tay from Malaysia. 678,000 in career tournament earnings.
So Remco, this pot, 411,000. Dwan raised 15K, Chang called, Tay called, Nuri 3-bet to 75,000.
Wow.
Only Tay came along. Flop comes out, 8-4 deuce. Nuri comes with 65K, gets called, brings us here to the turn where he's firing again, this time 89,000. I mean,
wow.
Talk about aggression.
Oh my God, Nuri is trying to make something happen here. But with a set of 8s, Tay is probably chomping at the bit to get even more chips in the middle here. And
Yeah,
it looks like she's going to make
probably
the
just
call.
thinking, you know, how do I get all of those chips over there? He's got 150 back. How do I get them all?
Wow, Nuri in absolute blaster mode. And the 10 of diamonds completes the board on the river. 500,000 in the middle. Nuri has like a third pot left here, Donnie. He has almost all of his chips committed with ace-jack.
I mean, I guess this is ultimately just going to be a test of courage. Does he feel like he can get her to fold? What does he think that she has? Does he think maybe she's got a couple big hearts? And he is going to put it in.
Wow. Nuri moves all in. And Tay with the snap call. And Natalie Tay is going to have just shy of 900,000 chips after Nuri blasts it off on flop, turn, and river. What an insane hand. And Natalie Tay now, one of the chip leaders in the tournament.
We're in Lightborn. The Jack-8 trailing the King-Jack.
Both players with the straight draw, King-Jack. A little better, the open-ender variety.
Jason James.
Raise 825.
The King-Jack won the tag team event this year with Jimmy Setna.
825.
Fellow Canadians taking home the tag team. James went to Waterloo University, which is a poker factory.
It is.
North of the border.
Oh, did Mike McDonald come from?
He might have. You know, first of all, Waterloo is a good university. You got to be pretty smart to get into there. And I think he might have. We've had so many Waterloo guys over the years.
Ooh, this is bad. This is very bad for Lightborn. He check raised that flop with the gutter, and he hits it, but he is not going to love the fact that James has a better straight in this spot.
They both hit the straights. James with the king high straight.
1 million.
You know what we call the king high straight in my neighborhood?
What?
I do not.
Just off Broadway.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Okay.
I'm going to steal it.
That's a lot of words, you
I'll
know.
take it.
Just off Broadway is a lot of words.
Just off Broadway. It's kind of a mouthful.
All right, see you, man.
Very good.
All right.
Would you call it job?
You say it 3 times fast, Norm.
Just off Broadway, just off Broadway, just off Broadway.
See? You were 2 out of 3 there,
If
by the
you
way.
cleared it, I would have said, yeah, clearly
Yeah.
not too many words. But you couldn't make it past the second one, huh? You couldn't stick the landing.
You could call it 42nd Street.
You know, if both of you
That's
were
just
in an
off
old
Broadway.
style phone booth on Broadway that was stuck, and it was at 95 degrees in Midtown Manhattan that day, I would not try to open the phone booth. Let you all suffer in that phone booth.
When was the last time you saw a phone booth, Maria?
Oh,
All
it's been
in.
a minute, but
Oh, wow.
here comes all the chips. James doesn't love the fact that the queen pairs on the river because, of course, could have some boats with Aaron possibly check raising to pair on the flop, you know, queen 10, but does end up having to call, obviously just too strong, but didn't immediately snap.
It was almost a reluctant call, wasn't it? It was indeed. And Lightborn sees most of his stack.
You just cooler
Fun
people.
of it. It keeps it in the front of everyone's mind, and this event just has a way of getting inside your brain and staying with you, whether you're playing or you're somebody on the rail.
And the discourse is what makes it great, right? And this is why kind of in the post-solver era, I dislike the fact that, you know, somebody can just run this and tell us one way or the other. I liked when there was a little bit of that ambiguity, right, in these discussions. Like, maybe, I like the debate. But either way, as you said, it just brings more attention and eyeballs to the main event. And hopefully we'll draw more players for next year and the years to come.
Another race for Tamayo. He hits the flop with that.
Check.
Gordon Griff's third main event ever. His first cash. He says he did not survive day 2 on the previous 2 attempts.
First time I've seen the little name below the player. I like that. They can do that electronically. Very well done, WSOP.
So Griff raised from the button. Tamayo just calls. And, of course, you're going to expect the pre-flop aggressor to continue on this type of texture at a pretty high frequency. And it is actually Tamayo who has top pair.
I mean, the rush of emotions that had to course through Jordan Griff with that monster knockout of Asted, and he's only had a few minutes to kind of get himself collected, get ready for heads up, get into the headspace that got him to this point. It's amazing.
A little more equity with that 4 in Griff's hand. Looking for a gutter.
That is 35 million.
He'll test the resolve of Jonathan.
And it's a really hefty size bet, right? Because we're talking about a lot of draws possible. And so it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that Griff will have some good top pair hands. But again, heads up, you've got a piece of it, let alone top pair. You're probably coming along, and you don't block the draws, right? He's got spades, doesn't block clubs or diamonds.
Tamayo's best. Griff misses his draw.
And is Griff willing to triple here?
Check.
I mean, the queen is nice because you block, you know, some strong king-queen type hands. You know, I don't think you expect ace-queen or ace-king to ever not 3-bet pre, but you do block some of the decent hands that you want to try to fold out.
Pressure, pressure, pressure seems to be building here.
And it's also nice to unblock the 2 flush draws, right?
75 million.
So this is Griff, I think, for the first time that I've seen, go for a triple barrel bluff. And it definitely puts ace-6 in a really tough spot. But again, just quite a few natural bluffs, right? Between all the straight possibilities, the flush possibilities, all of them brick. Of course, it is going to be opponent dependent on whether or not you think they're going to be able to fire.
Jonathan Tamayo, another veteran whose live read skills are celebrated by many of his opponents and supporters.
I mean, in terms of value hands goes, Griff is trying to say that he has top pair plus hands, right? I mean, you know, even a hand like King X is just not going to be betting this river. They're just going to take their showdown value. So
he wants to put it in.
75 million is the bet.
Correct.
A big decision. If he calls and happens to be wrong, he's cut down to 53 million. And would be far, far behind his heads-up opponent.
That, really freaking gross. That was that.
And now it's just really about maybe the perception that Tamayo has of Griff's image up until this point. I think, there we go.
Aha, he musters up a call and will take that pot.
Jonathan Tamayo is here for a reason.
A pot of 256 million.
And if you see that it appears that Tamayo might have more chips than what his double up should be worth, there was a slight accounting error earlier. Maybe it happened in the other double up scuffle, and now I think the chip counts have been corrected.
I think you are right. And Griff is still, you see, with just a tiny chip lead right now. So this is like two guys just joining a two-man sit and go for 10 million up top. Start with even stacks, move forward from here.
Now, this is still going to be more likely sit a lot and go.
Sit a lot and go, yeah. Well, a piece of the board for each. Tamayo with the best of it.
Check. $10 million.
More than 10 million.
Raise 35 million.
Yeah, it was mandatory for Griff to come along in some form with a pair of sevens. Looks like he's decided on the aggressive route. I do think that Tamayo will often have quite a few hands he can call with against this raise. You know, that doesn't necessarily have to contain top pair, right? That's going to be a part of his range. But, you know, even cards with two overs, backdoor flush possibilities, those are often going to also still continue to a check raise. And you wonder if Griff is going to start slowing down.
Check. Check.
Check, check. Top pair for Tamayo, still top pair.
A bit of an
Busy
action
board.
killer. Yeah, lots of straights out there, flushes possible. Okay, I see you, Griff. I mean, at this point, if you're betting sevens, you're turning your hand into a bluff on this run out.
Now we've seen Tamayo do it to Griff. And now he looks down at the younger player. He says, "What are you up to, boy?"
Half pot from Griff. No real relevant blockers in Tamayo's hand.
Tamayo's batting average on these reads has not been quite as high as he would like. He has been confused by Griff.
But sometimes it's, you know, some sheer will that's going to get either this bluff through or this hero call. I think at this point, Tamayo knows that Griff is capable, right? You do have that information, that he is capable of bluffing.
There is the call. What a great call by Jonathan Tamayo. Sniffing out the 50 million chip bluff from Griff.
The cream rises again. And Jonathan Tamayo answers the
Four and
moment.
Jack Deuce.